Ixion is a city builder that takes place in space, but it's also a survival game, and it's kind of a puzzle game. Is it good at being any of these things? Watch on and find out. My name is Thoraxe, and this is Strategy for Busy People. If you've got a few minutes, I'll tell you what to play. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We love space and city builders here on Strategy for Busy People. Ixion has been on my radar for quite some time, and I finally snagged it and decided to give it a try. I've got about 5.5 hours in this title from Bulwark Studios. You might know that I've actually reviewed several titles from Casado Games. I reviewed City of Gangsters. Not Omerta. Omerta sucked. I reviewed that too. Anyway, COG was amazing. I put a ton of time into that game. I also played Recipe for Disaster and found that to be very enjoyable too. It gave me extra high hopes for Ixion. The premise for Ixion is both novel and simultaneously cliché. Spoiler alert, you prep your crazy space colony ship for a journey only to end up being humanity's last hope. If this surprises you, you haven't been playing space video games for very long. Anyway, most of the game mechanics are simple enough. You have buildings where you can store resources, and you have worker drones that move the resources around from the storage to the destination building. Some of your buildings consume resources, and some of them transform resources. So there is a little bit of supply chain management in this game. One of the first things you're guided to build is a steel mill that converts raw iron into alloy, which is a fundamental building resource in the game. Just about every building uses it. The general premise of the game is to follow the course of humanity to its saving through a series of missions and objectives that are given to you by either your crew or circumstances. Meeting these objectives might involve going somewhere, building something, or whatever. It seems simple enough on the surface, but as you might expect with a city builder tagged as quote-unquote survival, the devil is in the details. Space is harsh and your space station is constantly falling apart. To keep it repaired, you have to dedicate one or more space docks that then consume both workers as well as alloy. Okay, well, workers aren't literally eaten by the space airlock. However, you have to carefully manage how many workers are assigned to tasks. Assigning too many workers to do things results in them doing shoddy work, having accidents, and, potentially, dying. As you might expect, since the Earth was destroyed, you're pretty limited in your ability to just hire more workers if they keep dying in the insect farm. Wait, Soylent Green? No, never mind. To manage the population, you need to feed them and house them. This should not come as a surprise. There are also measures of trust in your leadership, as well as stability of the different sectors of the ship. That's right, the ship is made up of 6 different sectors, and you have to pay a bunch of resources and move people around to unlock new sectors. Transferring materials between sectors is possible, but brings its own management challenges. There's a tech tree that you can use to, unlock tech. This tech is typically in the form of new buildings for you to, build, but there are also enhancements to the existing buildings. The science lab is what does the research, but it consumes science resource items, and those are in extremely limited supply. Also, it's unclear what the best tech tree choices are, so I found myself frequently researching the quote-unquote wrong tech because I didn't know what would be needed, and you can't get tech research points back like you get alloy back for dismantling a building. So I gotta tell you, scum-save often, because this tech stuff is a bit of a kick in the balls. And ultimately, this game is a lot about getting kicked in the balls and scum-saving. You never really get quite stable before something crappy happens to you. As an example, I decided to unlock a new sector of the ship only to realize that that really was a dilution of my resources and I shouldn't have done it so early. I reverted to an earlier save, and 5 seconds into that save, I got a mission objective to open a new sector, so I was damned if I did and damned if I didn't. You are frequently presented with choices like this. Your workers/crew/inhabitants come to you with a request. You can do it or not, but there are consequences to both. Look, I get it, strategy games are often about managing these types of consequences, but the pacing just felt annoyingly off. Maybe I should have cranked the difficulty down to easy instead of leaving it at default? I'm not sure. Anyway, once you get yourself situated post-Earth destruction, you get this cool new engine, and then you can be on your way. So I went on my way and realized I hadn't built up enough resources to really be stable when I got there. I reverted to a previous save again. This time I figured I'd use my little mining ships and really mine the heck out of the solar system so that I'd have a good solid base from which to work when I got to the new destination. I'd be able to produce all the resources I need to build more buildings and so on and so forth. And so I started down that path and then immediately got hit with a penalty because I'd hung out in the solar system too long without going elsewhere. Damn it. Then, two things became super annoying. You have to manage power too, which involves building solar panels outside your station. Fine, but you need more and more fancy resources to get more power. If you're not ready to build more power, you have to constantly juggle shutting down buildings that are not needed so that you can power other things that are needed, but you also have this constant drain of alloy, which is going to keep the ship intact. You could forego that maintenance for a while, but not forever, and you'd have to overcome whatever deficit of maintenance you'd accrued at some point in the future. So there's this grindy and awful micromanagement game on the power front. Another quote-unquote resource type in the game is cryogenic pods that store inhabitants. There's a building you can research and use to thaw out the corpuscles and turn them into real usable people. But usable people need to be fed, and so there's this constant nagging of having to thaw out corpuscles, then having to feed them, but food production requires power, and it's this groin-shot treadmill of suck. Before I give my final verdict, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to share it with your friends. Agree with me, disagree with me, or want to see other content? Let me know in the comments below. Want to try this game yourself? Check out my humble affiliate link below. And if you want to support me in making more of these videos, become a patron on Patreon. Your support really makes a difference. The final verdict. Conceptually, this game is pretty cool. It actually is a bit like Laysara in some ways. Your available building area is extremely constrained, so there's a balancing act there. But pretty much the game is an ever-expanding balancing act of keeping the wheels on the wagon and a constant threat of the wheels falling off. It's a bit much. There are quite a few dials on the difficulty, so maybe I could have fixed things up a little bit. In spite of wanting to see where the story went and wanting to see more of the tech tree, I just couldn't deal with the constant attack on my fiddly bits. On my trademark 3-point score scale of avoid, meh, and I forgot to eat, I had plenty of bug sandwiches and corpuscles and housing and infirmaries and solar power, but really, what I wanted was a nice juicy steak. And it's hard to get one when there are literally no more cows in the entire galaxy. So I quit and went and made my own. Meh. I made my own steak, not my own cows. Making a cow seems like a lot of work.